Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. We are at Iranistan in Cass County. This is the site of the first town in Cass County, or so I'm told. But that's not what we're here to look at. We're here to look at this absolutely beautiful Royal Enfield Himalayan Scram 411. It says 411 right there. This is a graphite blue model, so it's got the graphite color, fenders, headlight cowl, tank, and then the blue. Check that out. Isn't that gorgeous? The wheels. Absolutely gorgeous machine. I love these things. I've been riding a lot of these lately. They're down, Baxter Cycle's down to about 6 of these. I want to make sure I get some time in. I haven't ridden motorcycle in about 4 days, so I got the opportunity to take this one out for a couple 100-mile ride, and I think I'm going to do that, take advantage of that. So what is it? It's a 411cc air-cooled, oil-cooled. Oil cooler's right over there. See it right back there? Single cylinder, single overhead cam, 2-valve per cylinder hot rod. Puts out about 24 horsepower, about 24 foot-pounds of torque. That's about 32 newton meters. It all goes through a 5-speed transmission. Let's take a look at that right there. Single shifter. It's a really good-looking motorcycle. I consider this to be one of the best modern scramblers available right now. And I mean that in the sense that if you want to actually go scramble with it, in other words, pavement sometimes, dirt sometimes, just all around good motorcycle. I'd say it has a lean towards the pavement, but it does just fine on gravel and things like that. As a matter of fact, I just got back from Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri, and I think this motorcycle would have done very well down there. It's got 300mm disc on the front. Check that out. With a dual piston Bibri caliper. It's got a 19-inch wheel on spokes versus the 21 that the standard Himalayan has. 41mm forks. I think it's 7.5 inches of travel on the front fork. That's about 190mm. The rear has got a 120, 90, 17. By the way, the front has got a 100, 90, 19. And this bike has a monoshock rear suspension. You can adjust the height of that by adjusting these links here. In standard form like this, I think it's about 7.1 inches. That is about 180mm. Seat height on this hot rod, 31.3 inches. That's 795mm. Wheelbase on this hot rod is 57.3 inches. That's 1455mm. Ground clearance is about 7.9 inches, or about 200mm. Fuel tank is 4 gallons, 15 liters. And the weight, that weight I was talking about, 409 pounds. That's wet weight. That's about 186 kilograms. It comes with a factory skid guard. It's got boot protectors right here. It's got this really neat aluminum nacelle kind of, thing here. A little Royal Enfield badge right there. Lots of goodies right there. High pipe, the Scrambler's pipe. Jumping over here, and the 4-gallon gas tank, by the way, that gives you a little over, probably between 200 and 250 miles range at least. And if you baby it, you can go farther. I really like the dash on this. It's got this, what I call Oculus. It's got the analog speedometer on the outside. It's got this LED in the center, 1.5 inch wide, with an always visible gear indicator, always visible clock. Down below it's got the odometer. Then if you push this button over here, you can change that to trip A, trip B, and then back to odometer. Also has a battery light down there, and I think all motorcycles should have a battery light. I wish it had an oil light. On this side there's a trip meter, and you can use that with the Royal Enfield app to give you turn-by-turn directions. It doesn't show you a map or anything, but it tells you when to turn. Jumping over here, past the flash button, high-lows, blinkers, horn, kill switch over here, hazard lights, start button right there, gas, of course. Nice place to be, good looking motorcycle. Oh, these are my Royal Enfield Alpine Stars V2 gloves. They're a couple years old now, getting kind of wore out, aren't they? You know what? I'm gonna hop on and we'll catch up with each other a little bit later. Wahoo! We have made our way to Villisca, Iowa. I want to show you guys something down the road here, if I can find it. The motorcycle's been performing great, gotten a little over 60 miles. The seating position is almost upright. You lean forward slightly. Your hips and knees are about flat, with the parallel with the ground, even with each other. But your heels are set back a little bit, so just a little farther back than your knees. The seat itself, it seems just a little bit thin maybe, but pretty comfortable overall. I could ride this bike for days on end. I have ridden many of these and gone quite a ways on them, and they're very comfortable overall. Around town like this, they're superb. I think this is really where they're made for. I had one of these in Omaha a week or so ago, and Omaha is a pretty big city around here, and I just had a ball. And oh, hey, here we are. Villisca, Axe Murder House, June 10, 1912. I think the story goes that the family had a couple neighbor kids over. They went to bed at night. They think somebody was sleeping in the barn, and after they went to sleep, the person grabbed the axe off the wood pile. Back then every house had a wood pile. Came in and killed the whole family. They never did find out who. They had a couple suspects, but it never panned out. I don't know the stories of those suspects either. Gruesome thing. Back at the turn of the century like that, there were actually a lot of axe murders. If you go back in history, I can think of 3 at least in Iowa. In the, you know, every house had a wood pile. Every wood pile had an axe. So if you wanted to get somebody, you go to the wood pile, take the axe, and then walk into the house. Back then, I'm sure nobody locked their doors. In Iowa, half the houses right now have burglar alarms. The other half of the houses have doors that are unlocked. That's just the way it is. Nifty little town, though. Let's kind of do a little exploring here. This is the middle school, I believe, right here. I'm trying to find the old Main Street area, if we can get to that. Yeah, here we go. And, you know, a lot of old brick buildings. These old buildings are probably 100 years old each or more. Let's see what this one says here. 1912 again. So there's the town square. Now, this bike's perfect for this kind of riding. Very interesting. All right, I want to show you all something. One more thing before we get it going. Is that a train yard? That's not what I want to show you. Well, we'll go down there anyway. Other things about the motorcycle. You know, pushing this thing around the garage is very light, very easygoing. No problems at all there. Driving around the city like this, you know, low speeds in a parking lot or in the, you know, 25 to 30 mile an hour range, perfect. Does it very well. I talked about going to Omaha already and how well it worked for that. You know, for a bike with 24 horsepower, this thing does extremely well. Top speed on something like this is about 85 miles an hour. Consistent top speed. Could you go on the interstate with this? Yes, you can. It would probably hold 70 pretty easy into the wind. I love these bikes. Like I said, well, maybe I haven't said it yet. I own one of these. I have a 2021 model with over about 25,000 miles on it. Probably one of my favorite motorcycles I've ever owned in my whole life. If I had to buy a new motorcycle today to replace my Himalayan that I have right now, would I buy the Himalayan 411, the Scram like this? Or would I buy the bike like I already own, the standard Himalayan? That would be a really hard day for me. I would really be torn on that because I think they both do really, you know, really well. The standard Himalayan has a 21-inch tire, which is great off-road. This one is much more nimble, much lighter. The front end has that 19-inch tire. It seems that the bike weighs about 30 pounds less than the standard Himalayan. This one does. I guess you'd have to base your decision on what you're going to use the bike for. Okay, my friends, I'll catch up to you at our next stop. You're going to like this one. Wahoo! What I'm here to show you is this road to the left. H34 in Iowa. This is an antique road. Alrighty, so here's what I wanted to show you. We're on a concrete road with these little curves on the edges here. They kind of jut up here like that. See like that? And these roads were built between the 30s, 40s, 50s. I think they quit building them by the mid-1950s. Here's a little drainage area. They're, you know, we'll find a better spot than this to look at. But the idea was these were built in areas where the road had either very poor drainage, the ground around it, or no places for ditches or something like that. They're narrow roads because back then the cars that rode on these roads were, well, much more narrow than they are today. You know, like I said, they quit building these by the mid-1950s. So anyway, the road was built, concrete, had these curves on the side. The water would drain down the road into these areas where they would run off into, let's say here's a spot here that might have something like that. Nobody behind us. Little runoffs like this, and so they get to spots like this, and then in this case it runs off into the ditch. A lot of times, let's look over here. You know, like over here it's got a good runoff. All kinds of space into a waterway or something like that. This is a very rural road. So this road is at least 70 years old. 70 years old. This is 2024. They quit building these, let's say, in 1954. That's 70 years minimum. So why is the road still here? Well, this is considered a historic road. And I think this is the last one in Iowa, the last road like this. When I was growing up, these roads were still plentiful, and they were no fun to drive on. You know, as a young driver with little experience, you'd get up to the edge here, you'd try to get up on there, and it'd kick you right back, you know, and kind of startle you. It would throw you back into traffic. I can actually feel it on the motorcycle doing the same thing today. And at a certain point, they decided to tear them all out. They even modified them. They had a machine that would come down the road and just knock that curb off, and then they'd add onto the road, make it wider. There's another way, one of those waterways. And of course, if the drainage system like this were to get plugged up, the road would hold water in the low spot right there, and of course that's a traffic hazard, or a nuisance at the very least. So they ran their course, had their time, and that time is come and gone, I guess. I'm not sure what river this is. Let's see, it's probably the Nishnabadna. Yeah, it has to be if it's that size. Not much water in there, is there? Let's take a look over here. This bridge looks pretty new too, probably within the last 5 years by the design. Check that out. Hey, I can see tracks down there. We are having a nifty 350 ride, Baxter Cycle and us. And it's for any motorcycle at all. It'll be April 27th, about 10 a.m. at Baxter Cycle in Marnie, Iowa, if y'all are interested. It'll be about 110 miles long. We're gonna go stop at an ice cream shop. It's a big circular route, kind of. All 2-lane blacktop. And then probably somewhere to eat, and then back to Marnie. Should be a good time. Hopefully we'll have great weather. Hope to see y'all there. If y'all are interested in a motorcycle like this, a new or used Royal Enfield Triumph, classic British motorcycle of any type, need parts, accessories, thingamajigs, doodads, sweet googly woogly, anything at all, get yourself over to Baxter Cycle in the mighty metropolis of Marnie, Iowa, or go to baxtercycle.com. Let those good folks know that Fuzzy Biker sent you. Life is good. It's a beautiful day. If you can get out and ride today, my friends, get out there and do it. Wahoo!